What's up, Zombie Talk 123 here with some big news happening today as Gio Gonzalez of the Oakland Athletics has been traded to the Washington Nationals. A big deal for the Nationals, a big deal for the Oakland Athletics. For the Athletics, let's see what you're getting in return here for one of the best young pitchers out there. He's 26 years old, has gone 2 years in a row with over 200 innings, has been a solid number 2 starter for the A's, number 1, number 2 starter, and has 15 wins or more for the last 2 seasons. So this guy can be considered an ace for some teams. I think for a team like the Nationals, though, obviously behind Steven Strasburg in the number 2 spot, then Jordan Zimmermann, a very solid number 3, young, 26 years old, also came last year was a year after Tommy John surgery. He had a great last year, only a 150 innings limit. I think he'll have a great year next year, at least winning 13 games. And I think Gio Gonzalez will win 16 games next year, and I think Steven Strasburg will win right around that too. So you're looking at one of the best starting rotations, young starting rotations in baseball, the top 3. I don't know any starting rotations out there with a better young top 3 than the Nationals, maybe the Rays with Jeremy Hellickson and Matt Moore, and if you can find one more, maybe Wade Davis or someone like that. James Shields isn't really old anymore. But, they have a fantastic young rotation, and this really solidifies it. Getting a guy, Gio Gonzalez, he goes in that 2 spot or the 3 spot in the rotation. Absolutely fantastic move by Mike Rizzo, I believe. Yep. And he signed Mark DeRosa also today. He can be a versatile guy, play second, play third, backup Ryan Zimmerman, backup Danny Espinosa, and play left field. So, definitely some outfield depth, can play a lot of spots, and when he is healthy, he's a very good hitter. So, they got him pretty cheaply, so I like the deal for the Nationals. And really, they saved a lot of money going this route for Gio Gonzalez than they would have if they would have gone for a guy like C.J. Wilson or a guy like Mark Burley. A guy like Mark Burley commanding a salary, in a $13 million per year or more. And Gio Gonzalez is projected to earn $4 million in arbitration. So, he's definitely undervalued market-wise of what they're paying him. You know what I mean? They're paying him absolutely fantastic value for what they're getting. And, the main thing is they had to give up a lot of young talent for him. Do I think that the Nationals are fine doing that? Yes, because their starting rotation is so good for the future now. For the next few years, where you would see guys like Brad Peacock and others step into that rotation, you now have Gio Gonzalez, Steven Strasburg, and Jordan Zimmermann, solidified in that rotation for the next year. So I think the move is really good. The Nationals had to give up a few top prospects there, 3 of the top 10. The main one was Derek Norris, in my opinion. I think for the A's, yes, Brad Peacock was huge to get. A.J. Cole, another really good starter to get. Those 2 starters they needed for number 2 and number 3 potential starters right there. Tom Malone is a number 4, number 5 starter to compete with, other guys in the rotation, in the A's rotation, like Tyson Ross, like Brandon McCarthy, like Dallas Braden. Those guys are all, pretty much, in my opinion, going to be in the rotation next year. Now, Tom Malone started a few starts. He had a few starts with the Nationals last year, had a very solid numbers, but in my mind, he's a number 4, number 5 starter at most. Definitely possesses some talent there, though. And, he's definitely some depth in the rotation, too. So he's going to be one fighting for a major league starting position in that rotation. Do I think he'll make it? I think he could be a number 5 starter for the Nationals next year. Yes, I do. Now, A.J. Cole has a potential to be a number 3 starter, maybe even higher. Yes, he is 19. The reason why I say that even higher is because he's only 19. He didn't have the greatest year last year, but Peacock and Cole's strikeout ratio are fantastic. Cole, he didn't have the greatest year again, ERA-wise, but his strikeout ratio was above 9. So, you're looking at a guy who has an ERA above 4, but a strikeout ratio even above 10. So, a guy who's only 19, not fully developed, he could have potential to be a number 1, number 2 starter. So the A's definitely have some work to do. Definitely a high-risk reward player there, going for a guy like Cole, but they really could be rewarded in a huge way there further down the road. Then they're also they will be sending Robert Gilliam, also 24 years old. Not much glamour there. He was picked in the 8th round, if you remember the 2009 draft. I sort of remember at this point. And he did not have good numbers last year. He had, ERA 4.5 in a high class A, I believe. So, not too much glamour there. He has pitched many innings in pro ball. And he has some experience, but I think other than the fact that the Nationals are getting someone that they believe that they can develop better than the A's and add some depth to their system, I don't see, there's nothing really huge to be looking forward to there. But I will read in the scouting reports and maybe find something really interesting on this guy that I missed before or something. But Peacock is the main starter they're getting here. He's pretty close to being major league ready, and I think he has a potential to be a number 2, number 1 starter. So I think this guy has definitely the potential to hold what a guy like Trevor Cahill or maybe even a guy like Gio Gonzalez has. And he's a huge power arm. His strikeout ratio is, up to almost 11, per 9 innings. So you love guys like that when they go out on the market, and it's not very often that they do. He's young. He has a ton of talent. He's number 3 prospect in the system. And the Nationals have had a lot of good drafts in the last few years because of their terrible records, you know what I mean? Allowing themselves to get guys like Steven Strasburg and Bryce Harper and then have successful drafts and build a depth of pitching, a young pitching depth, is really great. And now they can use that depth to acquire a guy like Gio Gonzalez. It really solidifies the staff as a young staff and affordable staff for the next many years. Again, the back end of the staff, John Landon, has been one of those just solid pitchers. He's in my mind, really underrated. I mean, no one ever talks about John Landon, but his stats compared to other pitchers that have been talked about, free agency and other things like that, he's definitely affordable for the Nationals, and he's had really solid stats. I mean, nothing too glamorous, but just solid. And he's a very solid number 4 starter for any team. And I think the Nationals are lucky to have an affordable young starter like that in their system and on their team. Also, Chang-Meng Wang, they signed him. He had a pretty good year last year, and I think I would only expect him to have a good year next year. So I would expect good things from him unless he gets hurt. And I think that the Nationals, they were in on C.J. Wilson. They're in on Mark Burley. This is a much smarter way to go, in my opinion. Sorry about that. My computer blacked out there. But, I mean, really, it is. I think this is a much smarter way, and I don't think anyone can really disagree there, being able to acquire a guy like Gio Gonzalez, a very consistent young starter, 26 years old, control for the next 4 years at least. I would imagine the Nationals would try to lock him up pretty soon, maybe a year into this deal, see how he likes it in Washington, see how he does, things like that. See how he fits in the clubhouse. But really, this guy, if you compare him to Matt Latos, I think I would probably pick Matt Latos over him because I think Matt Latos has a higher ceiling. He's a little younger. He was rookie. He had a fantastic rookie of the year. In a fantastic rookie year. Yeah, winning 16 games, having fantastic ERA, and he really has that ace stuff. To me, Gio Gonzalez, yes, he can be an ace on some teams, but to me, he's more of a number 2 starter. I don't know. I mean, if you disagree, just comment below and put your explanations. But, especially on this team, I don't think he's going to be an ace over Steven Strasburg. But I think he's a very solid young number 2 starter, which any team would love to have, and he's very valuable, and he's very consistent. 200 innings over the last 2 years, 15 wins over the last 2 years. I think he'll win 16 games with the Nationals next year, and I think Strasburg will win 16 to 17 games. I'm going to go Zimmerman. I'll go 15 wins on him, and Landon, I'll go 11 to 13, somewhere in that round. Probably 11. But those are just like easy predictions. Are probably gonna all be wrong, but no. I mean, the Nationals had to give us some talent. Derek Norris is an on-base percentage machine. If he could hit more for an average, his on-base percentage would be even better. His walk rate is fantastic, though. His average was 210 last year, but his on-base percentage was like 360 or more. He has 77 walks last year and 20 home runs. So the A's are getting everything they want here, not only power, but on-base percentage. If you've seen the movie Moneyball, it's all about on-base percentage. That's a system of Moneyball. It's a system of Saberatics, and all of that. It's getting on base to create runs. It's buying runs. It's buying wins. It's not buying players. It's buying wins and runs. So you're looking at the fact that you're not going to go for a guy who's just hitting 20, 30 home runs and pay him a ton. Wouldn't you rather sign a guy for $100,000 or $400,000 and end up getting the same production or the same production runs wise and wins because he's getting on base percentage. He's getting on base more. He's creating runs. So this guy Derek Norris has potential like no other. He is a very talented catcher. You could compare him to a guy like I think he could develop into a guy like Wilson Ramos. I think he could be better though at this point. I know Wilson Ramos has a lot of potential, and I think he's gonna have a great year next year. We'll see how he does mentality wise from the kidnapping. I think he'll be fine though. He wanted to play back in Venezuela like a few days after that happened, so I think he'll be fine. My computer blacked out again. But I really do think that Derek Norris has a ton of potential, and I don't think I'm the only one who thinks that. I think he's obviously well respected prospect wise. He was number 9th on their prospect list of Baseball America, but I think he might even be further on that list. 20 home runs is one thing to get in Double A. To do it while you're hitting 210 is another, but to have a 360 above batting on base percentage because you have 77 walks is fantastic. So the Oakland A's want to create runs. Now the situation there is though, is he just going to be called up when Kurt Suzuki is done? He has a club option for 2014 and is signed through 2013. So there's an interesting predicament there. I think that they either say no on the club option or they trade Kurt Suzuki unless he has a no trade clause. I don't know. Or they let him play it out and then let this guy fully develop and have some time getting a little bit of major league experience here and there and then come up after 2014. We'll see how it goes. But he has a lot of potential, and I think it's a great pick there. And then you look at Peacock. He has potential to be a number 2 starter. Have had fantastic numbers last year. 23 years old, 2.4 ERA, 10.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. And I think he's getting ready to go up in the AAA, high AA, AAA for next year. So he should be ready maybe mid-season, maybe mid-season. They'll be pushing it for September call-ups. But for sure 2013, you'll see him in the mix for sure. There's no way that you won't. And so, I think that the hauls that they've gotten for these players have been absolutely fantastic. I think you can relate it to Mark Mulder and Tim Hudson, but I almost like these hauls better for where the Oakland A's are right now and where they could go. Getting Jarrod Parker is awesome. Great for the Oakland A's. They need that outfield depth. They need speed. They need some power there. I really like the pickup of Jarrod Parker. They got, Cowgill and Ryan Cook also. So, they got a lot of talent for Cahill, and if they would have traded him earlier, it'd be even way more, because I remember the first month or two of the season, he was pitching like a Cy Young. I mean, this guy had absolutely fantastic stats, fantastic numbers, and you're thinking, okay, why didn't more people predict this? He was 23 last year, went 18-9 for a team that was just around 500, and he had a great ERA. He's solid. And then he comes back this year and was pitching like a Cy Young the first month or two of the season, and it totally dropped off from there. So, if he would have pitched as well as he did the first 2 months, either the A's were not going to trade him, and they would have a better record also, but, either the A's would just nowhere near trade him, he's only 24, or they would say, okay, he's 24, he's cost-controlled, I'm going to get a 5-for-1 on this player, and it could probably happen. The way he was pitching in the first month or two of the season, it could have probably happened. So the Oakland A's are moving in the right direction, rebuilding. It seems like they're always rebuilding, but I think this might be one of the last type of deals they make rebuilding wise. They're going to be good though the next few years. They have some top players, but with the money problems they have, they can't really expect them to do much in free agency other than use some trade baits and try to get as many top prospects, and try to maximize and make sure that your scouting system is doing good. Make sure that you're getting the right guys in the trades, and make sure that you're generating runs in the cheapest way possible. But I think a ballpark move that could happen within the year or two, it would definitely be a huge impact on the team. I think their payroll would be able to increase, and it would be really good. I think that the Oakland A's deserve better. They have a strong fan base. They have a loyal fan base. And the fans deserve better than to just expect the same every year, and to have to see their team not have, somewhat of a high payroll. Now, I'm not saying you need a high payroll to win. What I'm saying is that when you develop a player and you've had him all this time, and the market, it shows you need to cough up a little money, and they don't have it, and they'll just have to trade him away again. It's kind of sad to see that always happen. So to see Gio Gonzalez and Trevor Cahill go, even as an MLB fan, it's kind of sad to see, you develop these players and they're so young, and then you know, they're gone. But I really do think that the Oakland A's are going the right direction here. Keeping these starters, Gio Gonzalez, the more years that you keep him, the less value he has in trade, in my opinion. Because he's 26 right now, he's going to make $4 million projected arbitration, and the less years you have him controlled, the less value he's going to have. So I think he's at top value right now. The Nationals obviously need him considering they lost on Mark Burley and C.J. Wilson. And then you look at what this does for the Nationals. Could they still go after Royals? Well, I think the rotation is set. Fantastic rotation. We'll see what happens. And hopefully they can have some depth in AAA to back up Chang Ming Wang in case he gets hurt. But I think that, of course, they could sign to a guy like to a minor league deal. One of the remaining starters, like a guy like Kevin Millwood, someone like that, I think could be an intriguing option. And then, of course, waivers and trades. So they have options there to add some depth to the rotation, considering them losing, Malone and other top prospects. I think for right now, though, losing Malone could hurt them because he did start a few starts last year. He started a few last year, so you know that he can pitch in the major league level, and he was pretty solid. So if someone gets hurt, he definitely is depth to step in and take that role. So am I counting out that they signed a guy like Royal as well? No. Do they have the money after getting a cost efficient, affordable guy like Gio Gonzalez? Yeah, they have money, but whether they can push their payroll to spend it on a guy like Prince Fielder, which I don't think will happen, or are they going to spend it in the outfield? Or are they going to it depends on what they do. Are they going to trade Ian Desmond and spend it at shortstop? I mean, there's many different options out there. They could definitely get creative, but in my mind, it's either sign a starting pitcher to a pretty low deal to back up this rotation, or sign a guy like Royal as well to a 1-year deal. Then you got Wong, and it's like he had a good year last year. He'll probably even have a better year this year. So why pay Royal as well $8 million to do the same that Wong could do? So we'll see how the Nationals go. All I know is that they're set right now with this young rotation. That's fantastic. But they did have to give up some top prospects, yes, and the Oakland A's should definitely be excited about the prospects they're getting here. All right, I think my video went over a little over time. Hopefully I can upload this thing. But again, thanks for watching. I'll be talk 1, 2, 3.